Hello, I'm going to do a quick walkthrough of MetaSheet and how you can use it to create lots of content at scale with GPT. And it's an early beta, but I'm working on some other features to make it all the more better. But let's start off with creating some personalized education lessons. This is like one of my favorite examples of one of the ways that you can use this tool. So first what we'll do is we'll create a new column, create another column, create another column. And the first thing you should do is make sure to add your OpenAI key here. You can change the model, but I would just leave these defaults. This is definitely the best model at this point in time of recording this to use. And you can get an OpenAI API key from OpenAI's website, platform.openai.com. So how we're going to start is we can think of MetaSheet as a program that can basically generate data into a spreadsheet, but then you can use values from different rows or columns, I should say, to do different kind of combinations of values into some natural language prompt. So that's a lot of words, and that sounds very complicated, but I'll show you an example, and I think it will make sense. But basically, what we're going to do first is we're going to say here, interest, then here we'll say subject, and then here we'll say lesson. And let's do 3 rows, which means we're going to create 3 lessons because it goes row by row. And here, let's say for interest, we like Minecraft. Here we like soccer. And let's say we like skydiving. Could be maybe a better one here. Let's say coffee. Then let's say for Minecraft, let's do economics, physics, and here we'll say chemistry. Okay, so we're going to basically pair each of these together and spit out a lesson. So here in the prompt, we can say, write a fun, engaging, and informative lesson that teaches us about. So here what we're going to do is we're going to use these curly brackets, and this basically passes in a value from that particular column when it's on this row while it's generating. So basically here I'll say subject. So in this case, write a fun, engaging, and informative lesson that teaches us about economics through the lens of interest. So this would be Minecraft. That'd be for the first row. And it will go through each row, but we have to say where we want it to spit out the information that it creates. So we're going to say that we want it to output into the lesson column. So we'll run this, and it tells us that it's generating. So we have our first lesson here. Cool. So we're looking at resources in Minecraft, like diamonds and materials, as a way to understand trade, and this looks kind of fun. Here we have Newton's 3 laws of motion, and here we talking about chemistry and coffee. So what we have going here is we have a bunch of different lessons generated, and one thing to note is that language models are a very new technology, and so one of the core limitations is something called hallucination, which is when the model makes up facts or creates facts out of thin air. So that's definitely something to be cautious of. You should still be reading everything that is output here. This tends to be getting better over time, and especially when you are generating, lessons about topics that are very well understood, you're a lot safer than things that are a lot more niche or nuanced. Additionally, you can put so much instructions in this prompt template here. If we really needed to have a specific style or really control that every single lesson has a specific format or certain qualities, we can define what those qualities would be here. So now that we've created that, we can save the project. Lesson plans. And we can do Command S. You can also click this to save. And then we now have it here in our saved projects. You can also download. This will save the CSV. Great. And that allows us to re-upload the data later if we'd like to. Awesome. So the last example I'll show is a more advanced version where we can use plugins. To show this, I'll show an existing project that I have saved here. But first, let me show you what I used it for. So I created this application here as a demo to show some of the powers of GPT, and basically created a platform where you can learn foreign languages through conversation. I always felt that you can learn a lot by doing and speaking, and I found that a lot of the language classes that I have taken really focused on grammar, which is great, but I would learn the most by speaking. And so there's a whole set of languages that you can jump into here. So we'll jump into Spanish. And we have this chat conversational interface along with voice.
Hola, me encantaría hablar contigo en español. ¿Qué puedo enseñarte sobre mi cultura o el idioma? ¿Quieres aprender algunas palabras o frases?
So, question is how is this related to MetaSheet? Well, I basically generated all of these characters in MetaSheet. So each character has its own description, its own name, and additionally some different configuration settings for the actual speech language and this type of thing. So the way I did this is I have this project here, Lingo Lab. And so we have a lot going on here. One of the first prompts that I did is basically I wanted to create a random face for each character. So what a plugin can do is it can run JavaScript code, and it can take values, of course, from each of the different columns, and can then run JavaScript code and output into a specific column. So here I did a simple function that gives me some random digits as a string attached to this URL. So the reason I did this is because if you go here and you type in something random, I think I need .svg. There you go. I get a random character here. And so I basically wanted to just generate a bunch of different random characters. So that's what this does. Each time it grabs something random, puts it into the URL, and then gives me a random URL on each row. So if I were to run it, you'll see that each of these, an image will change, even though you can't really see it actually here, but when you do it, it does change. Cool, so then I needed to create a random name for everybody. So I had create a random name for someone who speaks language. So of course I had all the languages written out here. Then I would pass that into identity. So then created a name for everybody. Great. Then we had generate a random language. So I ran that before I ran identity. And I put these seeds in here. It's kind of a little advanced thing that I was doing that can help with making it a little bit more random. Then I did a description. So create a fun and engaging GPT prompt for an AI agent named Identity who is teaching the language. Make this character nice, friendly, but throw in some random and cool qualities about this person. And then I show it to immediately go into writing the prompt. This looks like I'm not sure what I was doing here. And finally, I had speech. So here I was basically saying, create a JSON object for language using Google Cloud Text-to-Speech API schema. So instead of me having to go through and find all the specific language codes for each character in the Google documentation, I basically showed it, okay, we have the language English and the character is John Smith. So it can infer that it's in English and it's John. It can infer gender from that and then choose male here and English. And so then we give it a new language and a new identity, and it will create this JSON object and output that into the speech column. So there you have it. Basically downloaded this data. It was in a specific format that I needed, and I uploaded it into this application here. So all of these characters are generated by MetaSheet. Thank you for watching. I have a lot of different ways to connect. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn, Twitter, email, and I'm going to be improving MetaSheet over time. It's a fun project for me, and it will always be free. So definitely check it out, show it to your friends if it's helpful for you, and let me know if you would like any help or any features. Thanks.